everyone, I'm Miss Alyssa and I'm at the Azusa City Library. Today we're going to be making some kaleidoscopes, okay, and learning a little bit about mirrors and how they work, okay? So everyone, if you signed up for our craft, you should have a little craft kit that kind of looks like this. Has instructions and all the materials you'll need. Other than your craft kit, you're going to need a ruler. So I just have a straight ruler here. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need some tape. I just have some regular Scotch tape. And you're going to need either a pen or a pencil. Okay? So before we begin, I just want to go over a little bit about what a kaleidoscope is. So I have a little diagram here. We're going to basically use our cardboard tube to be our sort of body of our kaleidoscope, and inside our tube we're going to put some reflective paper called mylar paper. It's kind of similar to mirrors in that it reflects light off of the surface. So we're going to create a little triangle design here for our mylar paper, and we're going to slide it into our cardboard tube. And then you can actually use your kaleidoscope just like that, but for a little extra step we're going to add an end cap. And inside our little end cap, we're going to put some colored beads. And basically when those move around in the end cap, when we twist our kaleidoscope, it creates that moving pattern, that little tessellating pattern. So that's a little bit about how a kaleidoscope is going to be constructed. The inside, if you think about it, the light is going to enter through the end cap. We're going to see the reflection off the beads or anything that's behind the beads. That's going to reflect off the mirrors, and we're going to see multiple reflections because we have mirrors facing each other on the inside like this. And that's what kind of creates that repeating pattern because they're reflecting off of each other. All right. So I think, why don't we go ahead and get started? How does that sound? So let me switch this up. Okay. So I have my kit. I'm going to go ahead and open up my kit. For those of you who might be logging on or watching this after the fact, keep in mind that if you want to get your free kit from the library, you just need to sign up on our civicrec website that is linked down below. So here I have my instructions. I'm going to set those aside. Okay. And then everyone should have gotten a little tube, our reflective mylar paper. I see here we have some plastic sheeting. That's basically some laminated paper that I laminated transparency sheets that I put through the laminator to make this kind of cheap plastic sheet here. And then I have my little bag of colored beads. So those should be really fun to reflect all that light off. And I also gave you guys a bunch of patterned paper. So I'm going to do a little demonstration with these different patterned paper later on as we're constructing. And inside your paper tube, I put some extra little rolls of paper. Now you guys might have gotten different patterns in here, but I gave you guys two options. And this is basically just to wrap around our kaleidoscope as a little decoration after we're done constructing. So I'm going to set those papers, set those aside for now. And let's go ahead and look at our instructions, okay? So on our instructions, first step, it says we need to cut off an end of our paper tube here. This is basically what we're going to use to make our little end cap. So I'm going to kind of cut maybe about an inch off. And if you want to be specific, if you want to measure an inch, you can, or you can just kind of eyeball it. I think I'm going to eyeball it, okay? So you might need to kind of flatten a little bit out your paper tube like that so that you can get a good cut through. And this is kind of thicker. We gave you sort of a thicker paper tube. So if you need some help, don't be afraid to ask your adult for some help, okay? So I'm just going to cut all the way through just like that, and then I can kind of reshape it to be more of a circle. And if you have these little frays, you can try to cut off the frays. And if your paper is kind of peeling up like that, don't worry, we're going to be covering this with some decorative paper later, okay? So I have my little smaller end cap, and I want my end cap to be able to fit inside of my larger tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it open like that. So now it's sort of like a strip, and I'm going to overlap the ends to make it smaller. So you can kind of fit it inside your tube like this. And then I'm going to kind of use that as my measurement for where to place my tape. So I'm going to grab a piece of tape. I made my smaller end piece. I overlapped the ends so that it can fit inside. And now I'm going to tape the end to itself so that it doesn't come undone. I'm going to put a piece of tape on the outside of that seam, and then I'll also put one on the inside of that seam, just to make sure that doesn't stand up. Okay, so there I have my little end cap here. And if you want it to be just big enough where it can fit inside but it doesn't fall out easily, but that you can also twist it. That's going to help us when we're moving our kaleidoscopes around. Okay, all right, that was step 1. Let's go ahead and see what step 2 is. So now we're going to form that inside mirror. Let me highlight this. So if you guys remember our diagram when we pull it up, so we made our cardboard tube, we made a little end cap, or started to make our end cap, and now we're going to make that inside mirror. Okay, so I have my mylar paper, and I want to fold it in thirds. So I'm actually going to, you kind of want to make sure you're folding it the right way. So I kind of cut out these mylar strips to be just about as big as how long your tube is, but you might need to make it a little bit smaller. I think I made my end piece actually a little bit too small because now it's not staying in place. So let me just remake this real quick. That's what I love about tape, is that you can just peel it off and start over. So let's try. That's still a little too small. Let me grab some new pieces of tape. Okay. Again, I want to make sure it's just snug enough that it fits inside. So let's try that. Okay. And I'll put some on the inside. Okay, yeah, that's much more snug, much better. Okay, so as I was saying, I got a little distracted, sorry. I want to be able to fold this so that I can make that triangle shape. So I'm gonna fold this in thirds. I just wanna make sure that this length right here is a little bit shorter than this length. So we want it to kind of sit on the inside. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to cut. I'm going to eyeball it again. I'm going to cut off a couple, maybe like 1/2 inch off this edge. And you might have cut off more or less for your end tube. So you kind of just eyeball that yourself. Okay. So if you can see, I cut it off about that much, right? And that's basically going to help our end tube sit on top of the triangle, and I'll show you that after I fold this. So let me discard that. And so now I want to fold. Basically, I'm going to use my ruler here to help me fold. Okay, and I want to fold this so that it will fit on the inside in a triangle shape. So I'm going to kind of just, if you want to measure out exactly a third, you can. I'm going to try just eyeballing it. But these are about 5 inches long. I should have given you about 5 inches. So if you want to do thirds that way, you can try to figure that out. I'm just going to eyeball it though. I'm thinking right about there. And how I'm using this to help me fold is I'm going to place my ruler flat, and then I'm going to pull up one side, kind of like that, and I'm using the straight edge to make a nice fold like that. I'll do that one more time. We'll flip this over. So I'll do about that big. Wherever you want the fold to be, you're going to place the edge of your ruler against that. And then I'm just going to press and fold over. And that kind of gives me my shape there. Okay, so I basically just fold it kind of like a pamphlet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tape the ends. But before I tape the ends, I just want to make sure it fits so that, yeah, that's a little bit too big. So what I might do is I might cut the ends off one of these sides. Little customization. You need a little trial and error to get this to fit inside. I think I just need a little bit more. Oh, no. See, I managed to get it to fit inside like that. That works. Now you can try pushing it in just as like I did, or you can tape the ends and then push it in. If you tape the ends, that just makes sure that when you're looking through that you only see that the reflective paper and not the tube on the inside. So I think I might just put a piece of tape along the edge there and then kind of fold it over like that. Might put it one more on the ends just to make sure the ends stay. Okay, and there's my little triangle mirror on the inside. So I'll slide that in. You kind of see that's what it kind of looks like. And I want to push this so that it's kind of flush with one end. This is going to be my eyepiece. So I want it kind of flush with my eye. So when I'm looking through, it's like right up against the edge there. And then my end cap is what's going in on the other side. And because I cut this end a little bit shorter, when we put our end cap in, this will prevent our end cap from going in too far, basically. So it's resting up against the little triangle, okay? So there we go. And you can actually just, even without the end cap, you can use this to look at a couple patterns. So I'm just gonna, little demonstration here. I'm gonna pull up, this one looks fun. Pull up this, and here, let me grab the camera so that you guys can maybe see what's happening on the inside. Oops. And you can kind of see just as it is, if we rotate this over the paper, you can kind of see that tessellation effect already occurring. And you can rotate this way to kind of get that, or have it pass over pattern paper. I gave you guys a couple of different patterns to kind of experiment with. Here, let's try even a longer pattern like this. And if you are just, I hope you guys don't get too sick. But you kind of just rotate it along here, and you can kind of see those patterns creating against the mirrored surface. And it's hard to pick it up on camera because just my camera setup isn't the best. But let me put this back. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you guys sick if I did. But that's basically what you can do even without the end piece. So you can just look through and try to experiment with the different patterns you see in the world. Or if you want to continue on to the next step where we add our beads, we'll go ahead and do that, okay? So if we want to continue making our end cap, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take our little transparent piece of plastic, and we're going to measure out 2 circles. So if you want, you can actually fold and cut this in half. And you should try to make circles with the smaller end. You should be able to make 2 circles. I think I gave you guys big enough pieces of plastic. And I'm going to use a marker. You can try using a pen or pencil instead. This is just so that it's a little bit easier for me to see and for you guys to see. I'm just going to trace around. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. There's my circle. And now I'm going to do my best to, you can trace the second circle on the other one. I'm going to do my best to just hold them together and cut them. So I get 2 circles that are saying. You're going to end up trimming down these circles anyways, so don't worry about if it's not perfect. So now I have 2 circles, and I'm going to want to place one on the inside. So if this is my eyepiece, the side that I look through, the other end is the end where the mylar paper doesn't go all the way to the end. We're gonna place our one plastic sheet inside there. And if it's a little bit too big, then you can trim down. Looks like mine managed to fit just perfect. So that is gonna be one part of our end cap. And the other part, so I'm gonna put our other piece onto our end cap piece basically. And so if I'm putting my end piece in, basically this is where I cut, and that's I don't really want the cut piece because it doesn't look all great to be on the outside. So I'm gonna do my best to keep the cut part of my end piece inside of mine. So if we slide ours in, then you can see that I have like the regular edge, and that's the edge that I want to put my other plastic piece. Okay, so I'm just gonna lay it on top, and you can just simply add some tape, some clear tape, and then kind of fold it over. I put it on one side, and I'm gonna put another piece of tape on the other side. And then I'm going to do that 2 more times, go in the other directions. This is going to keep our little plastic attached to our end piece. Okay, just like that. I think I moved on to the next step. So this is the step we're on, where we're taping the plastic to one of the end pieces. And then, so now after we placed in one plastic sheet here, I'm gonna go ahead and open up my bag of beads. I'm gonna pour it in. There should be about 30 pieces. Actually, it might be easier to pour it in this end. Oops, I dropped one. 1 second, let me pick up that piece. Okay. And now you're gonna slide in your end. So I have my beads in my end cap, and I'm gonna slide that into here. And now you can see they're kind of trapped in the end there, and they make a nice jingling noise. And basically now when I look through, and you can, as you're looking through, you can kind of twist either the end piece, or you can twist the eyepiece, and you can see the different designs. And it works best when you're like looking at some light, but I wouldn't look directly at the sun. I'll just a little FYI, don't look directly at the sun through your eyepiece, okay? All right, so there's my completed kaleidoscope. If you want to go on to our next step, which is to decorate, I'll show you how we can do that. So I have my decorative paper. I have 2 different kinds. I think I like this one better, so I'm going to use that one. Oops. So just for now, I'm going to go ahead and empty out that, just so that I just emptied out my beads so that I can wrap these up a little bit easier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of measure out again about how much. So you can use your ruler here. So I have, sorry, it's a little curly because it was inside the tube. I'm going to line up this edge, and then I'm going to place my ruler here, and that's going to tell me exactly how much to cut off. So we'll do that. I have a little pencil here, just making my marks. And I'm gonna connect those two marks together. And then I'm gonna cut off that bit all the way up. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this. First I'm gonna do is attach with tape. So I have my long strip this way, and then I have a second long strip that I'm gonna use to wrap my eyepiece. So I'm gonna attach this bit here, just like that, with some tape. Okay, and then you can add more tape on the inside, kind of like fold it over to be double-sided like that, so that it sticks as you're rolling. You want to make sure you're rolling it kind of tight, like a sleeping bag, if you've ever rolled up a sleeping bag. Oh, that piece came out. And then I'm going to kind of overlap it. Oops. Like that. And then tape the end to itself. That way I get a nice colorful body of my kaleidoscope, just like that. I'm going to do the same thing to my eyepiece. I'm going to kind of, and they should match up pretty. Whatever you cut off hopefully matches the same size. I'm going to attach this with some tape, wrap it around as I did before. And you want to make sure you wrap it tightly, because remember, this piece has to fit inside of our kaleidoscope. So instead of layering too much, you might want to trim off the excess, just so that it's not too much thicker than what you measured out before. In fact, I might do my double-sided trick, put some on the inside, so that I can make sure that it's nice and flush, nice and tight to the eyepiece. And then I want to make sure I overlap the end and tape the end. Okay, my little plastic bit came out, so I put that back in. Let me put my there's my wrapped up end piece. I'm gonna put my little beads inside again. And of course, you can try adding your own beads, or maybe some glitter or something. Maybe not like really tiny glitter, but like little sequins. That might be kind of interesting to experiment with. And you can fill up your kaleidoscope with whatever you think would make interesting patterns. And again, you want to, it might be a little bit more difficult to slide back in because of the paper, but I think I should be able to manage to just put it in. The paper just makes it a little bit thicker. Yes, okay, I got mine in. And there's my finished kaleidoscope. So again, if you hold the end piece, and then you can either twist the eyepiece or you can twist the end piece, and as you're looking through, you should see those different colors, those different patterns, and the reflections off of the inside mirror. And that's that. That's pretty simple and easy, huh, guys? I do want to go over one other thing. I found this really interesting website. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. There we go. Oh, let me close this. So learning a little bit about what tessellation is. I kept saying that word throughout the live stream. So tessellation, or tiling, is when we cover a surface with a pattern of flat shapes so that there are no overlaps or gaps. So if you think about our kaleidoscope, what we're seeing, we usually see things in a three-dimensional space, but if you can imagine looking at it in a two-dimensional space, sorry, did I say? We normally see things in a three-dimensional space, but when we're looking through, if you imagine it in a flat two-dimensional space, you're going to see those reflections as sort of a different shape from reality, right? That might be kind of confusing, but if we think about tessellations, it's basically repeating patterns, right? And if we look through our kaleidoscope, we see that repeating pattern on 1, 2, 3. I see it on 3 sides. That's because we made 3 sides in our mirror. You can also experiment replacing your mirror, and if you ever get more mylar and you fold it into maybe a square, or I think another is a hexagon. So yeah, you can do triangle, square, or hexagon, and it's going to create that regular tessellation. And if you, I linked this website in the description box because there's also this cool tessellation artist. Oops, let's close that. This is kind of like a fun online game that you can play to make some tessellation art. So for example, I have, let's put a little, we'll put a little hexagon in there. So that you can draw a big hexagon or a small hexagon. Let me go ahead and remove that. And then you see these little dots here. If you move the dots, you can move the shape. I thought that's kind of trippy. And then if you move the red dot, it rotates the shape. Ooh. And you can make some really cool art with this tessellation website here. So I wanted to share that with you. And I feel free to give it a click and try it out. It's called mathisfun.com. The link is in the description box below. So I hope that was interesting for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and share a couple of upcoming programs that we're doing. So in February, we're doing a lot of grab and go crafts because unfortunately we don't have any in-person programming next month. February 1st, we have a Lunar New Year tiger craft. You can make a little paper tiger. We have on February 4th, an Olympic torch craft, because the 4th is beginning of the Winter Olympics, and we're going to celebrate that because that's always fun to watch. I know I enjoy the Olympics. And February 7th is a Unity bracelet to help to recognize Black History Month. That is the whole month of February. And then February 14th, Valentine's Day cards. We have little DIY cards that you guys can make and give out to loved ones. And then February 28th, Dr. Seuss's birthday craft. Okay, that one should be fun because I know Dr. Seuss's birthday is coming up, all right? And that's always a fun one, all right? Don't forget, also on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we have Storytime with Miss Ginger. If you don't know, that's on Instagram. And then we're also going to be starting a new story time called Little Learning Hands. That's actually going to be with me. I'm going to be doing that story time where I'm going to be showing you a couple ASL signs or American Sign Language to go along with the story. So you guys can start learning some signs because it's always fun to learn a new language, right? And also, if you enjoyed this program and you haven't taken our survey, I'd really appreciate it if you take our survey. You can either scan this QR code or the link is in the description box below. So thank you again for joining me. I had a lot of fun making our kaleidoscope, and I hope you guys enjoy figuring out the different patterns that you can make with your kaleidoscopes and learn a little bit more. Maybe play around with that Tessellation website and just be curious, right? So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye.